Hello and welcome back to 10 Things About Writing. This one is about something that we've probably touched on a little before, but I thought it might be a good idea to stress it, particularly if you've reached a point where you're beginning to be self-critical. Self-criticism is a great thing. It comes with honesty and usually it's a bit of a sign of progress. So if you've started to doubt yourself, then that's essentially quite a good move, because with doubt comes critical thinking, comes improvement in all kinds of ways. And so I'm going to call this one Why Things Are Always Terrible at First, at least until they get better. And I was looking through my stuff the other day and I came up with this, which is volume 2 of a long series of volumes of something which eventually became a novel. At the time it was called Witchlight, and I started it when I was 19, and I read a little bit of it, and it's absolutely terrible. I can say this with no great worry, because it's been a while since I wrote it, but looking back at it, I think to myself, I was so proud of this. I was so proud of it, and at the time it was the best I could possibly do, and I knew it. And I thought, it's going to be the next thing, it's going to get a publisher, because I believe in it so much. Now, you're told as a writer always to believe in yourself, and this is great, but you also have to move on from that moment when you believed in yourself to the moment where you look at what you did 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 40 years ago, and you say, actually, this was terrible. And it's a good thing, because it's not about taking to pieces the stuff you did when you were younger. It's about looking at how far you've come. And therefore developing the possibility of criticising yourself, and also of not beating yourself up for being terrible, because actually being terrible is normal. Everything and everybody is terrible at first. And the thing to do is to try and find out why something is not great and make it better. And there are a number of ways you can do this. One is practice. That's the most essential way of not being terrible. You write and you write and you write, and you accept that quite a lot of what you write is going to be terrible, and then at some point you will reach a kind of wonderful glass ceiling of writing, and you'll burst right through it and you won't be terrible anymore. You'll just be quite bad. And then there'll be another ceiling where you'll be quite average, and then there'll be a moment when you'll be good. And this comes with practice, with, if you can do it, if you can bear it, daily practice. But just write as much as you can, and don't worry too much about how good it is when you're doing it, because only time will tell. Only you, your future self, when you have made progress, will be able to tell what that writing was really like. Which is why I can look back at something that I wrote years ago and say it's absolutely dreadful without feeling too terrible, because I know I've come a long way. And you will too. Everybody will. And I'm still on a learning curve. And sometimes when I look at stuff that I wrote 20 years ago, and which actually did really well, I can think to myself, I could improve that. And hopefully that means I have improved. And I expect to continue to improve. Therefore, enjoy your progress. Analyse what you may be doing wrong, or you may have done wrong in the past, and don't feel bad about it. This is a stage of development that everybody goes through. Read well-written prose, as much of it as you possibly can, but also read poetry, read plays, read badly written prose, because you can learn from that too. Read as much as you write if you possibly can, because that too helps you. And if you can look at other people's mistakes and see them, then you can look at yours all the better afterwards when you've done it. And remember, everything is terrible at first. So if you wrote something this morning and you've looked at it and thought, why is it not like so-and-so, this author that I like? Don't worry, it doesn't have to be. Because I'm going to tell you now, there are a number of rules to avoid writing badly. And these come with practice. But they also come with thought and with honesty, with the honesty that you have to have as a writer with your readers. And the number one rule is you have to be yourself. Stop comparing yourself to somebody else. It doesn't work. It will make you feel bad, and it will not improve your writing. Because one of the things that I noticed about this book that I wrote when I was 19 is I'm trying desperately hard to be somebody else. I'm not quite sure who I'm trying to be, because I keep going from one kind of style to another, and some of it's funny and some of it's deeply tragic and some of it's very old-fashioned, and some of it is in a kind of contemporary style, and basically it's supposed to be medieval fantasy, so there's that. So know who you are, know your voice, own your voice. I think I might be trying here to be a sort of cross between Rider Haggard and Terry Pratchett and Douglas Adams and Vladimir Nabokov, and no wonder it sounds dreadful. But also I didn't have a voice at the time. I just didn't know what my voice was. I was trying out other people's voices, and this is a fine strategy if you're trying to work out what your voice sounds like. But eventually you'll find your own voice, and you must make it strong, and this too comes with practice. So know who you are. Don't try to be in with the popular kids. Don't try to sound like somebody else just because it's fashionable or because it's popular. It won't work in the long run. You will feel hollow and empty inside until you find your voice. Other things that you might consider not doing that I did in spades. Don't use an awful lot of adverbs, and especially not in dialogue. They ping out at me now because I'm used to editing. Obviously, I wasn't used to editing when I wrote this, and there are so many adverbs in the dialogue, and it makes the dialogue sound so clunky and so terrible. So don't do that either. Also with dialogue, don't write accents out phonetically if you can help it. I know we've covered this, but yeah, I did a hell of a lot of that. And don't write interminable sentences. A sentence that goes on for too long will lose its meaning. I do this. I have a sentence here that's like half a page long. It's ridiculous. Also, it's full of subclauses, so it's bombarding the poor reader, who was imaginary at this point, and I don't think anybody actually read it, with all this information, a kind of little choo-choo train of information with a subclause and then another subclause and then another subclause. For God's sake, help your reader out here. Cut them into shorter clauses, and then you may even find that some of those things didn't need to be said at all. Constantly ask yourself, as a writer, did I need to say this? Why did I say this? And because I was 19 and all 19-year-olds are a bit cocky, for heaven's sake, you need not persuade anybody that you're clever. If you're clever, that's fine. But it's not up to you to persuade the reader that you're clever when you're writing a story. It's up to you to tell the reader a story. If what the reader comes away with is the idea that you're very clever, then you haven't done that. You've failed as a writer. Doesn't matter how clever you are, you've still not done the job. And again, I've tried to do this over and over again. I've tried to be so clever. I've used so many long words. I've shown my vocabulary so much for no real reason, and made jokes quite inappropriately in the middle of quite tragic situations just because there was a joke that needed to be told. Again, I wouldn't do that now, and I'm very grateful for it. So if you were feeling discouraged today, remember, I've had a lot of success in my career. I've spent a lot of years honing the craft, but like everybody, I was terrible at first. Till next time, keep writing. Enjoy what you do. Feel the joy, or do something else.